Welcome to another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me, as always, is new Mike L, Kevin Jank.
It can't rain all the time, Mike Dell.
Oh, I thought there was more to that. No,
no, that's
right.
it.
Fair enough.
That's all I needed to say.
And I guess that's probably a reference to this comic we're reading today. Which
yeah, or at least the movie based off of it.
Okay,
and probably later issues.
Never saw the movie, never read the comic until today. So why don't you tell the people what we're reading, Kev?
Well, this week we're going to be reading The Crow, issue number 1. Yeah, and we have a very special guest to help us do so.
Yes, this is from 1989. And who is that special guest, Kev?
Why, it's Cousin Pete.
Yeah.
Back again. Him and his change jar have joined us for an extravaganza.
It is I, and no, I am not from what'd you say, 89? I'm 87. 80, the young, yet slightly older.
All right. But, yeah, Pete, welcome back to the show. I think you were supposed to be here when we talked, we did a Flash issue recently.
That's right.
Make it. But I think the last time you were on was, I think it was that Batman issue on the cover where he said he hates his parents. Right? Where he was like,
wow. That couldn't have been the last time.
I think so. Right?
Was that the last time? May have been.
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh.
Either way.
Wow.
Welcome back. And we had a reader comment recently say they're a big fan of Cousin Pete.
Weird. I'm not even a big fan of Cousin Pete.
He's so humble.
I guess they said, yeah. So anyway, the more janks, the better. So, Pete.
Oh, you know what? I just realized the last time you were here was that Lois Lane issue where she became a black lady.
Yes! How did we forget?
Or Lois became a black woman.
Yes.
Yeah, Lois. Now, Kev, I got to call him Kev because we have two janks on the show. So, Kev picked this book because he said you love The Crow.
I do love The Crow. It also sounds like I love animals, but I don't. I just like this book.
And what's your when did you discover The Crow? Because you were a young lad when this came out. You're
I would say I discovered the move. Oh, how did this go? It was definitely high school. I feel like that was just the thing to do, was just get into The Crow. So I did.
Very emo.
Yeah, very emo and goth times back then. But yeah, no, I got into the movie and I really liked the movie a lot in a non-emo way. I just thought it was a really good revenge tale. But then, a little known fact, I've never read a book, but the very first graphic novel I read was The Crow. And I still have never read a book, but I have read a few graphic novels in my time and comics.
Well, let's change that book thing, because before we get started, let's remind everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We're up to 242 subscribers. I think we picked up one or two. Yeah. But Pete, I also have a new book out called Monkey Flip. That should be the first book you ever read, Pete. It's about a chimp detective. Yeah.
Oh.
So you could I'd be honored if I'm the very first book you've ever read. That'd be nice. But goodbye, Monkey Flip. All right. So The Crow, the movie came out in 1994, and of course it's probably most famous. Sadly, Brandon Lee died during the production. Now, Kev, do you know all the ins and outs of that incident?
Don't at this point, but yeah.
How did that all go down there on that movie?
There was some kind of a scene where they were shooting blanks out of a gun, and I think he was supposed to be the actor was using like a plastic bag over it or something. I am not sure how that scene was supposed to play out, but
I can tell you the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, so it was the scene with Fun Boy. It's actually a very, very similar scene in the comic as well. But I want to say it's very, very close. It's like one of the things from the comic that actually got brought over to the movie was that specific scene with Fun Boy and Sarah's mom. But basically what ends up happening is they were using dummy rounds in this revolver that they had, and they had not realized that a dummy round was still in the chamber when they shot an additional blank, which then sent that dummy round and just propelled it towards Brandon Lee. And shot him in the head, I believe, or somewhere. But the craziest thing about it was he wasn't bleeding, but it did knock him unconscious, and he had a heart rate, and they said that it seemed, like he was fine. It's just they knocked him unconscious, so they obviously got medical attention there, and as quick as possible because he just got shot with something. But it wasn't up until a few hours later, I believe, is when they actually declared him dead because he was bleeding internally.
Oof.
So it was just kind of a really rough and way, way crazy, unfortunate situation.
Yeah. So now after that film, there's a new film coming out. This will be the 5th Crow movie.
That's right.
I think this one's supposed to be this new one is supposed to be like a reimagining of Eric Draven, which I don't like this at all.
Yeah, rebooting it with this. Yeah, doing the original story over again, and it looks terrible. It looks just god awful. By the time you're all hearing this episode, I imagine there'll be tons of articles about how badly The Crow flopped this weekend.
Now, Kev, you are the movie expert here on the show. Have you seen all these Crow movies?
I have actually. The first one many times. The other ones, I think, only once each. But yeah, they kind of, obviously, I think the last two, I think, were direct to video. I don't think they got any kind of theatrical release. City of Angels, at least they tried. Like, they still had, like, Iggy Pop, and, like, they had a soundtrack that was kind of like the first one where it had a lot of people that you would know from the mid-90s. But then it just kind of went downhill from there. But the third one, I remember being better than I thought it was going to be. Just because it was kind of an interesting premise of, like, this guy was framed for murdering his girlfriend, and they gave him the chair, and then, like, the Crow brought him back to kind of get revenge on the people who framed him and kind of clear his name and that kind of stuff. So that was kind of.
All right. Hey, Pete, have you seen the movies?
Yep. And Kevin's absolutely right. The City of Angels is okay, but the third one, Salvation, is, I would say that one's just a weird shining star out of the 3 sequels. That one's probably my favorite. Well, it is my favorite. City of Angels is alright. The ending's very weird. It goes like straight up like superhero. And I don't like it. But yeah, the second one's really good. I like that one. Or, I'm sorry, the third one's really good. The second one, City of Angels.
Call. That had
Edward Furlong.
Yeah. David Boreanaz, like the villain.
Well, then it had to be good. Yeah. I've never seen any of the films, and I had no knowledge of The Crow other than the Brandon Lee situation and that Sting in WCW dressed like the Crow. A little bit.
Sure did.
That's all I knew. So let's get some background here on The Crow. It's a supernatural comic book series created by James O. Barr, first published by Caliber Comics in 1989. And there have been 5 films, as we've talked about. The first in 1994, and there's also a television series.
That's right.
That's true.
Saw that.
Pete, were you a fan of the TV series?
No, nobody was. That's why I didn't exist anymore. But it was really bad. I have seen it, but it's not good.
It's kind of like one of those Highlander type situations where they're like, we'll make a series out of this, but it'll be on weird TNT like at 1 a.m. and no one will ever see it.
The Crow has sold more than 750,000 copies worldwide, so that's pretty good. The hero here is a fellow named Eric, who was assaulted alongside his fiancée Shelley by some street toughs. And Eric was shot and paralyzed, meaning he had to watch while Shelley was raped and murdered. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Fortunate.
Eric later died at the hospital. But 1 year later, a crow brought him back to life so he could seek revenge. But he brought his soul back into his body, so he's basically like a walking corpse. Right?
Yep. Yeah, nothing could take him down.
The movie kind of changes that a little bit, where I think in the comic it seems like he doesn't actually heal. It's just that he's a corpse, so it doesn't affect him. Like getting shot doesn't do anything to him. But like in the movie, he kind of has like almost like a Wolverine healing factor where he can just kind of heal up wounds.
All right.
That's true.
But here's a sad backstory to this. Barr created the book to deal with his own grief after his fiancée was killed by a drunk driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very sad.
And but I did read that he said it actually didn't help in dealing with the grief, and that it actually just made him angrier. And he said every page of the book's just filled with anger.
Ooh. Yeah, that's got to be tough. Like if the thing that you're most known for is this thing you created out of your, worst moment, and then you got to just be stuck with that your whole life.
But this Barr fella, he was born in 1960 in Detroit, Michigan. He was an orphan and raised in foster homes. And he was already engaged when he was 18. That's when his fiancée, Beverly, was killed by the drunk driver. So in the aftermath of that, he enlisted in the Marines, and he illustrated combat manuals while he was in there. And then in 1981, while he was stationed in Berlin, he began working on The Crow. So look at that. 8 years later, then it got published. And he drew inspiration from his own personal tragedy and a Detroit newspaper account of a young couple being murdered for a $20 engagement ring. So as you can tell, The Crow is a very uplifting, happy story.
Yeah.
It becomes uplifting at the end.
It's actually Spider-Ham, pretty much same book.
Yes. I will say that this book has, I think, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the issue with the most point-blank fatal headshots that we've ever read. Like, people are just getting their heads blown off left and right.
All right, yeah. It's either this or that Lois Lane issue.
Yes. Either one. But, all right, so, Pete, over the years, like The Crow, what we're reading today is the issue 1, of course, of a 4-issue limited series. And then over the years, there were other little installments of The Crow, right? Like there'd be a 3-issue deal, a couple other issues here and there, right?
Yeah, I think that there was like other issues of it, but I mean, his main focus had always been basically this book, the books 1 through 4. So I think we read all of just book 1, and there's technically like a lament, even like a prelude to that. But yeah, I think any comics and anything that came afterwards has just been like additional stories and nothing typically related or generally related to Eric Draven himself. It's always been a different Crow. There's always been Crow would always bring somebody to life who had just been wronged in one way or another, and then when they come back to life, they seek revenge, and then once they would do that and fulfill that, it would be, that body would finally be laid to rest, just like in this story. The same thing happens with Eric Draven here. And they do that not only in the TV series, the movies, but also in the comics as well. But this is just, this book is so well regarded because of that, like, that angst and the anger and the pain and all that stuff that happened to James O'Barr, like, obviously back in the day. So that's why there's just so much heart felt into it. Like a passion project.
Yeah, you could really make it like just an anthology series then, with that Crow being the real star of it all, The Crow going around it. Now, in the comics, the Crow is like, or maybe I have it backwards. The Crow is just a mystical, spiritual thing in the comic, right? But in the movies, they show him as an actual physical crow, like other people can see him and stuff in the movies.
Scenes, yeah, he's definitely legitimately real. And he does get, like, in the movies, they tie his immortality essentially to the Crow's kind of livelihood as well. So at one point they decide, if we shoot this Crow, take the Crow out, then Eric Draven will be mortal again and we can kill him.
You take the Crow out, you take the man out.
So, all right, what else should we know about the Crow, Pete? Anything else before we get into this?
I mean, I could probably talk about it as we kind of go through, but there's definitely a lot of fun stuff. And then maybe even after this, I could talk some of the differences between. Did any of you guys read the entirety of all 4 books or just the first book?
I just read the first one.
I read through issue 2. I'm probably going to finish it at some point, but
that makes one of us. Here's what I was taken aback by. Is this Crow fella very effeminate?
Sure.
He reminds me of Tim Curry in Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
That's amazing. He would honestly be great casting.
It just took me aback when I was looking at these panels. I'm like, oh, that's weird. All right.
I did see something online that apparently James O'Barr was kind of basing his face off of Peter Murphy from Bauhaus and his body off of Iggy Pop. So
okay, Iggy Pop. I don't know what that first thing was you said.
I think he looks more like Ron Stewart with black hair myself.
I don't know who that is either.
Like
Ron Stewart?
Who's Ron Stewart?
Rod Stewart?
Oh, Rod Stewart.
I mean, you can say Ron. Maybe I did say Ron. But definitely Rod Stewart. He's got that cool mohawk, or not mohawk, but mullety hair.
Yeah, like the spiky hair there, yeah.
Yeah, if Rod Stewart went emo, that's what he would look like.
Yes, this book is very emo. I was, at certain times, I thought I was reading The Sandman, so I did not like that at all.
That's why I knew you weren't going to like this. I was like, oh, boy.
You better get Pete. He's the only thing that'll make this better.
So,
I'm going to be on my side.
Thank God Pete is here. So, all right. Hey, Kev, we're reading the trade paperback of this. So, what is actually the cover of the very first issue? I don't know. Is that the cover of the paperback? Is that the trade paperback? Is that the first issue cover?
It's a different cover. I believe it's at the bottom, at the end of this trade paperback. You can see the different covers, but I did put it up on Google Images just for the hell of it. So the first issue, it says Caliber Comics up there in the top left. I don't know what else Caliber Comics has done, but good on them for this. And it says first issue.
Yeah, they've done a lot of stuff. They were around. I think they're based in I read up on them. I want to say they're based in Michigan. Don't quote me on that. And they had a run for about 14 years or so and went away. And then they came back, and they're still in existence today.
Wow.
Although their founders passed away. But there's no other real prominent titles that I recognize. But they published a lot of books, and they're still going. So.
Yeah, but I think, weren't they like a smaller, almost like indie publishing company of some sort?
So good on them.
Yeah. I got to keep her.
Probably called Caliber Comics because of the number of headshots in the book. All right, then we got The Crow. It's a very simple kind of title, just, kind of normalish looking letters, very skinny. And then it's pretty much just a big shot of kind of Robert Smith here. So, like a big shot of his face, blue eyes, not so white here. It's kind of looking like that new movie where they didn't bother painting his face white. He's very skin colored in this drawing here.
So that's how he is, and he was never meant to have a white face. The movie was the first interpretation of the white face with the black lining. But yeah, so the comic is purely black and white. Even the original cover to the comic was black and white. And maybe it wasn't black and white on the cover, but his face did have just the lining. So I don't know what picture you're referring to, unfortunately, but his face has that black emo gothic lining on it. It does not have white on it, and it was never meant to have it until that movie came out, and they decided to do the white and then the black because they thought the comic looked so amazing because it was in black and white, so it just made sense.
But here's the Crow brought him back to life a year after.
Right.
Oh, yeah. That's what they.
So, what would his body look like a year after?
Like this, like Robert Smith.
So, all right. So yeah.
And there's a gun
big
smoke
face.
Yep. Yep. Kind of in the gun like it's glue.
And you open it up here, and we get a bunch of little pictures. I don't know. Again, lament, pain, and fear. I don't know what's going on here.
You can tell you're in for a good time with these words.
The next picture is very disturbing. And then we have some poems. One thing
Crow where his pants are coming down.
Yeah, that was the disturbing part. And if it's one thing I love when I open up a comic book, I hope to God there's poems. If there's poems, I know.
Is it the pain and fear poems?
Yes.
Oh, they're beautiful. Aren't they beautiful?
Beautiful. And then there's a little story. I accidentally read this, or I was going to read it. But then I figured I wrote to Kev and I said, "Do we have to read this? Because it doesn't seem like it's part of the first issue."
Is it Inertia?
Yes, Inertia. And Pete, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this was the first Crow story that was in like Caliber Presents issue whatever.
Yeah. So this is that prelude that I kind of referred to. This kind of like sets up what is happening. So if you do read it, it's exactly what is happening with, or why the Crow is and what he's doing, or what this purpose is, even though it's still kind of like vague. But from that small little story, you can tell that this guy is talking to this thug, and he's got the names of all these other thugs, and he's looking for him.
Yeah.
So that's basically all Inertia is.
Yeah. But yeah, he is very, he is very emo, trench coat, spiky black hair and everything. But he like paints his mouth like the Joker. And he does little things on his eyes, like a little Harlequin kind of deals on his eyes.
So I believe it's because
go ahead.
The joy mask that Shelley had in their apartment.
Oh, okay.
The kabuki type things.
Yeah, because they do show those later on. All right, well that makes sense. So yeah, this Inertia thing, it's just him killing a dude, or no, he doesn't kill him, right? He just walks away.
Yep, he just walks away and tells him to let those other guys know that he's coming for him.
Yeah, he's out to get revenge against all the street toughs that raped and murdered his fiancée Shelley.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
So now we get another little short story here. I don't know, Shattered in the Head. And,
yeah. I like the art of these in these like weird interstitials. Like the art was so much better, I thought, in these in the actual book. So
yeah, they're more dreamlike.
Yeah.
Which I like that they changed the artwork up, because obviously when you go through the main story, like everything is basically more leaning towards the black, but anytime he's remembering something or he's in this like weird, almost like dreamlike sequence, everything either turns to gray, light grays, or white, which is really, really neat.
Hey, along with the Crow, there's also like a skeleton dude dressed like a cowboy or something.
Yeah.
What's his deal, Pete?
In the comic book, it's basically he's coming back. So at this point he knows, I don't know if he's actually dead, or that he knows he's dead, but he's coming back from the dead. So this is like the train out. So Shattered in the Head is a reference because he got, if you read the rest of the books, you'll kind of know, but he ends up dying. But this whole entire horse thing is pretty awesome. So I can kind of explain some of this if that helps.
Sure.
So he's watching, he's looking. So basically, Eric is in a train. He's on like the train of the dead kind of thing, and he's about to come back to life. But they like Tarantino this, not so much like you're reading the end first, but you kind of are. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but basically you're seeing these like snippets in between every story and every like spot within the main storyline or the main timeline. But this is he's already been shot and killed, and he's on the train of the dead coming back to life. He's looking out the window and he sees this white horse, and it gets caught up in barbed wire. Now this is, at least what my interpretation is what ends up happening in the book itself is, unlike in the movie, him and Shelley end up having car trouble, and the thugs show up and basically kill them there. But what ends up happening is Eric is knocked out, almost basically paralyzed, or I think is paralyzed. So all he can do is just watch all of this happen. So the horse is a representation of that. He's watching this white horse have horrible things happen to it as he's driving by back to the living. So my interpretation is this is exactly what happened just before he died, with Shelley, of course.
Yeah, and now let me ask you this. So this stuff, this little horse story, and this was in the first comic book? Like if you bought the first comic book, or was this just added for the trade paperback?
Some of this stuff was actually added. I don't know, because I'd never read the full comic book. And I believe he even added stuff even after the book that I have, which I bought in 2008, I think, somewhere in there. But apparently there's a special edition that had just recently come out within the last couple of years that he added just the last finishing touches to kind of fill in a couple things, but he said the book now is largely exactly what he wanted it to always be. But I don't know if the horse story was a part of it. I do know that inertia wasn't initially part of it. It was a part of a different story that introduced the Crow for the first time.
Yeah. All right, so now we finally get to book 1.
That's right.
And it's pain. Pain.
It's always been pain.
Pain
Gulliver.
His prediction. Pain.
So we open it up and we see like a city, and we see the Crow walking towards the camera there. And part 1, white heat.
That's how I am on Wednesdays.
That sounds like a movie we'd watch on LCS.
Yeah. And he would definitely be in that one.
Yeah. So we get a bunch of emo stuff here. Really. Would you like to read this, Jank? Or I'm sorry, Kev? Would you like to read it?
Oh, let's see. Where should I start? Where does it get really interesting here? So yeah, basically in the city, in the ghetto, on a dead-end street in a forgotten house, a shape, a man, he stares out an upstairs window, unmoving. So it sounds like Michael Myers so far. A shape, a man staring out the window of the Myers house. A lot of Michael Myers going on here. Unmoving yet seeing nothing, lifeless and sick, slumped in despair. He is listening to sounds, to voices that have been gone for a year but still ring so loudly. He hears gunshots, a girl crying, sobbing and begging. He could not help her, but now he cannot remember why.
Yeah. So it goes on like that for a while. But he's standing in his house. Pete, this is the house he and Shelley owned, right? Their house?
That is correct. Yep. In the movie, this is where the murders happen, but in the comic, this is just his house.
All right. So now he's a walking corpse guy. He just hangs out at the house. And luckily, no one bought that house, you know?
Well, they live in like a shit place, so I don't know who'd want to live there. It's like Gotham City, pretty much. Like, who actually lives there voluntarily? Like, there's nothing.
Well, this is Detroit, and that question still remains.
It's how RoboCop. Who wants to go there?
That's right.
But yeah, we get now he starts thinking back, and he hears a gunshot and someone crying or whatever. So now we see some more street toughs.
The five people who he's going after. And I gotta say, there's a guy named Tintin and a guy named Tom Tom. I feel like those guys has to change. Like, you gotta be something else.
Yes.
You can't have two similar names like that. It'd be like being Tom Tom. Just wedding in the same dress. Like, one of us has to change.
That's exactly right.
Well, so in the movie, that they do change it. So the 5 that they refer to in the movie or in the comic here is Tintin, Tom Tom, Fun Boy, T-Bird, and Top Dollar. Tintin's in the movie, Fun Boy's in the movie, T-Bird's in the movie, Top Dollar's in the movie, but Tom Tom gets replaced with Skank. Who do we want? You want Skank or you want Tom Tom?
I like Tom Tom.
Skank.
That's not Skank. That's Skank. Skank is dead.
But here, the guys we're seeing here on the street, Tintin's the only one of the original 5, right? Like, these other are just random guys, no?
Yes. The only one on his so-called list.
Yeah, the only one on the hit list is Tintin.
Yep.
Now here's a tip for you kids out there. In this scene, I don't know what this other guy's name is, but he shows up. He's trying to sell a gun to Tintin. You know, it's a hot gun. He found it, and Tintin's in the market for a .38, not traceable. So he gives him the gun, and then Tintin just shoots him. So you kids out there, when you're trading arms, never sell a loaded gun to the client. You know?
Yeah.
Sell the ammunition separate. Because
lessons to be learned.
Things can go poorly. But Tintin, Tintin first, he just kills some lady walking down the street.
Yep.
Turns out this Tintin's a real jerk.
Yeah. Why are they hanging out with this Tintin?
They're all pretty terrible people. Let's be honest.
They thought he was a dog, so they're like, oh, this will be fun.
That's Rin Tin Tin. he shoots a lady walking down the street and kills her, and the one guy starts flipping out and goes, "What are you doing, Tintin? You can't be shooting ladies in the head." And then Tintin says, "Oh, yeah, well, I'll just shoot you." Bang, kills him. And then he kills the other guy, too.
You in the red.
Bang. Yeah. He's not scared to just shoot people. So, but the Crow, he's hearing all this. Is he like Daredevil or something? How does he hear all this? What is he?
Well, he's already after them. So, like, he's basically on their trail, so I'm assuming he was just right place, right time. But these guys are always doing something bad, so.
All right. And,
I wonder if he was shadows until after Tintin killed all these people. And then decided, oh, now I'll step in. Sorry, old lady.
So, Tintin walks up on the Crow there, standing in the back alley. And he's like, hello. Oh, wait, Kev, you have a voice for the Crow when he talks?
I got to try to do a Brandon Lee impression, but it won't be good. He's honestly really good in that movie. Hello, Tintin. Remember me? I can't do it. That's like a bad Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's very Jack Nicholson. I like it. Also a good Crow.
So when Tintin finds the Crow there in the alley, now we cut. It's part 2, New Dawn Fades. And we have a confrontation here, Pete, between Tintin and the Crow. Why don't you tell us how it goes down?
All right. Well, let's see where we're at here. Yep. Okay, yeah. So he says, hello, Tintin. Remember me? It's a chilly October night, but Tintin is flush with heat. Again, that white heat on Wednesday.
White heat.
So, the confrontation happens. So it says, remember? No, I don't. What you all painted up for, boy? Your own? I don't even know.
He says a funeral march.
Oh, yeah, funeral march. And your own?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So then Tintin takes a shot. Doesn't seem like it's doing anything. And then, Eric goes for a good old stabbing in the arm. Rejoice to the full.
Well, actually, Eric had a gun in his pocket.
Oh, is that what he had? Yeah, you're right. Yep. You're right.
He shoots right through his own pocket. You think he'd have more respect for his own coat? Take the gun out and shoot him. But he right
That's probably stinky.
Well, when you're dead, everything's a loner at this point.
Yeah, I guess.
That's true. It's not like he's trying to hook up with anybody. He's obviously trying to avenge. But yeah, rejoice to the full and to the glory that is about to be yours. Who are you? And give thanks to the Lord who has called you to his kingdom. Man, I don't even know you. A year ago, a cold October night, a broken down car, a dirt road, a man, a girl, madness, pain, and shadows. My God, the shadows. You? T-Bird said you was dead. Am I not? And then the Crow kind of just, don't look. T-Bird. Got it. He had the gun.
Oh, what a dramatic reading.
Starting to shape up, isn't it, Eric? Oh, sure. 14 more coats of paint and the house authority might approve it.
Yeah, we're going to cut back to them, Shelley and Eric, in their house that they just bought.
Yeah, those are the better.
Yeah, so we're kind of seeing that mask here as well. So you're getting these glimpses of like why Eric is painted up the way he is and kind of that backstory. So, and this is why I really like this book. You're seeing the interweaving of his memory and what's happening right now. It's so cool and so unique. I mean, I don't read a ton of comics, but is this unique? Is this something that they do?
Well, it depends on what you're reading. I guess in the 70s, it's just a lot of punching and kicking, so there wasn't a lot of this. Like in the 80s, there were Kev, all those British writers started doing this, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. We're getting a lot of all this high ads though, so those are pretty straight.
So we're getting intercuts here between like his memories of his time with Shelley and Tintin in the alley there, and we see Eric and Shelley in bed right after having the sex.
Yeah. The white heat, as they call it.
Yeah, that's right, the white heat. And he eventually says, Tintin's yelling at the Crow. He's like, I'm talking to you, man. You can't. But then the Crow says, but fear not. And he just shoots him in the head. He said your soul is rotting. And he says, but fear not, I have the medicine. And he, boom, shoots him in the head.
Oh, yeah.
And then he just walks off. And now we see Eric back in the house. And this is the more emo stuff where he's hugging himself. And
then he starts doing Tai Chi, as you do.
Yeah.
Out of Roadhouse while he was alive, I guess.
We see him in the window, and I don't know, more imagery of a dead lady. And
he's just practicing what his father taught him. His father, Bruce.
I did like this man playing a violin, and the strings are the nerves in his own arm.
Yeah.
That's metal.
That is metal.
Then we see him flashing back again. The crow. Look, don't look, Eric. Don't look. Because the crow's talking to Eric after you're shot in the head and paralyzed. Hey, but then we get a close-up shot of the crow, and he takes the shell casing from the bullet that he put in Tintin's head, and he ties it up into his hair.
I like that. I don't think they did that in the movie at all, but that's
certainly not.
A little memento to carry with them.
Yeah, a trophy.
How about that? And we get another shot of him from outside the house.
Or you store it in the old prison wallet, and you don't want to do that.
At least not a hot one.
We see a shot from outside the house of him looking all sad in the windows, and it looks like that crow's in the window too there, I guess. I don't know. And now we cut over and we see this part is called Shadow Play, and we see another one of the goons that
song references for these in different like chapters.
Wait, what is Shadow Play? You said that's a song reference?
Joy Division song. Yeah, there's a lot of Joy Division songs getting referenced in these titles, I've noticed.
I don't know what's irritates me more, that he did that or that you recognized he did that. I don't know which is worse. But who's the bad guy in this scene here? Top Dollar.
Yeah, it is Top Dollar.
Yeah, Top Dollar.
Which is strange. This is a complete, so Top Dollar is in the movie, but he is the main villain of the movie.
Yeah. Because like an Asian sister wife.
Very true.
Asian sister wife.
Yeah.
So, but Top Dollar here, he's kind of like just would you say a low-level drug dealer or higher-level drug dealer?
Definitely a low-level drug dealer. He's just a thug in this.
All right. And he's sitting around a table, and, well, I guess he's upper management compared to these bums around the table. Cause they're looking.
Well, yeah.
But he's not like a kingpin, he's a lower-level guy.
Hammerhead.
Yeah.
In general.
But he's got a bunch of goons sitting around a table, and they're all complaining because they said, hey, Tintin just got killed. You got to do something about this. People are going to think you're soft if you let one of your guys get killed in the streets. That's what I tell Kev every day.
Keep that pimp hand.
But this Top Dollar, he doesn't seem interested in doing much about it at all. And but then he just pulls out a gun and says, hey, unless, you guys want to talk about it some more. And then they're like, nah, we're cool. So, but then Kev, they hear something outside the window. And again, it's Tim Curry from Rocky Horror Picture Show sitting on a ledge. And that is a disturbing sight to see. Like, what is going on with him? Like,
I'd be like, come on in, Tim Curry.
But like, what is going on with his poses? And he's always hugging himself. And look how he's holding the gun. I just don't understand what's happening here.
I love it. I love the fact that he could storm in here and be scary, but he could also then just, curl up in a fetal position and have a good time. I love it.
So strange. But anyway, he's out on the ledge, and the guy goes to the window to look outside. Boom, he shoots him in the head. So there's another headshot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then he just runs in the room and starts shooting other people in the head. In the chest.
Got shot. He's like, who the hell are you? And the crow says, Santa Claus. And you've all very bad this year. So at least he got some one-liners, some action one-liners.
They got some good ones.
Oh, Santa Claus, really? Is that a good one? I don't know.
What do you want him to do? Do you want him to tell these jokes, or do you want him to stand outside the window holding the gun like that, rapping at your chamber door? Which one do you want?
I suppose Santa Claus is better than that.
Using ravens for crows.
Yeah.
And so he's going around just fighting everybody. And I don't know, then Top Dollar gets the drop on him, and he's got the gun there. But then, like, Top Dollar gets KO'd by just a light flapping back and forth. Is that all that happened there?
I get shot. I think he just gets confused.
It looks like the light comes back and the swinging light hits Top Dollar in the head and knocks him down, I think.
It's kind of like in True Romance, where, what's his name? Gary Oldman is like the pimp guy. He's got a swinging light between him. He kind of swings it at Clarence at one point.
Oh, yeah. Never saw it, so take your word for it. But then the Crow, he shoots some other dudes. So it comes down to just the Crow and Top Dollar, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the Crow, he, I think we get another cut here. Yeah, and it's called the Kale. So now the Crow's sitting on the table in front of Top Dollar, and he tilts the light onto Top Dollar, and he's asking him, you know, hey, you remember me and all that? So it's basically just a repeat of the Tintin stuff. And just Top Dollar?
Top Dollar had a lot more teeth going on than this guy.
And then we get some more, but Top Dollar's trying to bribe his way out of it. He's trying to offer him like money, you know, and like a car and stuff. Like, hey, just don't kill me.
Take the dope too. There's almost half a key left. We're easy.
And again, in the middle of this scene, we get flashbacks to Shelley and stuff. But then, and Kev, what happens to Top Dollar?
Well, you'll never guess. It's a shot in the head.
But then, like, he shoots him in the head, and like Top Dollar just shakes it off.
Yeah. Rubs some dirt on it, and he's fine. He's lost an eye, but, you know, other than that, he's all good.
He put a bullet right through Top Dollar's left eye. And Top Dollar doesn't seem too confused by it at all. He's just like, you can go to hell. So he shoots him again.
That's why he's Top Dollar.
Yeah.
Hey, Pete, here's something I liked. We see the Crow walking out down the hallway of this apartment building. He's just walking down, and the lady next door looks out, and she sees him, and he says, evening, ma'am, and all polite and whatnot. But he's got a bunch of cats following him.
Yeah, he ends up taking one of them home with him because Shelley always wanted a cat. Named it Gabriel.
Why do the cats like him so much?
Cats love birds.
They love dead things.
Well, I love cats. So, all right.
And you're dead inside.
That's right. It all ties together.
And you're a bird.
My bones are hollow like a bird. But I think the cat, we learn his name is Gabriel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Terrible name for a cat.
I like that the cat is then immediately perched on his shoulder, also doing the same scowl as the Crow. Imitate his master's facial.
They're both out for vengeance.
They say people and their pets end up looking like each other. Yeah, you know. So, yeah, we see him walk. Oh, we get another poem in between there, though. Yeah. Or at least this looks like it was added probably for the trade paperback, maybe.
Yeah.
Picture with the cat.
We got to fill these things in with some words.
Yeah.
Now we're back to the comic art, and we see the Crow walking home with the cat on his shoulder, looking like a badass cat, and he's carrying a bottle of Dom Perignon. How do you pronounce that, Pete? Dom
Pigeon.
That's exactly.
Yeah, this one just jumping on. Jumping on. There we go.
And he's got some flowers with him. And then there's a big block of text here that's tough to read. Could have some more line spacing in there. That would have helped. But,
yeah.
Chicken scratch.
So much space. But he chose to put it in this tiny box that's conveniently placed at the bottom of the page.
So this part of the book is called Like a Concave Scream. Is that a Joy Division reference, Kev?
That one, I don't know. That one didn't hit me as anything.
All right, good.
It's a quote later on in the book, I believe, as well.
Ah, that makes sense.
Now, I'm a little concerned here because we show him he's having like an imaginary dinner with Shelley at the house there with candles and the champagne and the flowers, and it looks like he put the cat in a box. Did he put the cat in a box?
It's a present.
So why?
The cat's questioning it.
Air holes or anything like that. It just looks like a box.
Why? What? I don't know.
And it's not like it's a real surprise. Like, he's not really there, so this is probably unnecessary.
Even if she was really there, you could just walk in with the cat and it's still a surprise. You don't have to put it in a box. All right, anyway.
It's a cat in a box.
So we get more flashbacks to him and Shelley, and they're painting the house there. And she so wants to get married. And he's like, all you want to do is talk about marriage. But then, he surprises her with an engagement ring, and she's all happy, and they're going to get married. His life can't get any better than this.
Good times.
And then he was paralyzed and had to watch her get raped and murdered.
Not yet.
It all went downhill from there. And then we get more just another poem kind of, where the teeth of madness jump, dance, and sing. So we get a lot of shots here of Shelley kind of naked, but that white heat.
Yeah.
Really like this art. So good.
Yeah. It's like complete like charcoal pencil. It's really, really nice looking.
Very interesting.
But even in his little dream sequence there, Shelley still gets shot in the head.
Don't look.
And then the crow comes back, and then we see that dead guy, the skeleton guy dressed like a cowboy. And he comes in. And that's it. And then next it's book 2, Fear.
It cuts off so early. Wow.
Yeah, that is kind of a weird place to end the first issue. You'd think you'd end with some kind of a cliffhanger-y thing, but it's just kind of like...
You did. It was just before he did a nutty. The next book is when he gets to do the nutty.
I was just glad the cat got out of the box. That was the cliffhanger for me. There.
Schrodinger's cat for you.
So there it is. The Crow issue 1. Now, Kev, you had never read this until now?
No, I never had. I've always wanted to, just never got around to it. And, I've read the first 2. I'm going to keep going and probably finish this thing off.
Wow.
It's only 4 books. I mean, might as well.
Yeah. Who was like the big end guy in this, now that Top Dollar's taken out in the first issue?
Yeah, great question. It's T-Bird. He's like the big thing, but this isn't, I'm not going to spoil it if you're going to go through the whole entire thing, but T-Bird's basically the gang leader in the movie, and technically here as well. It's just Top Dollar's in charge of, manipulating all these gangs. So in the movie, T-Bird is the leader of that specific group of guys, and he's that same thing here. That's all we know. There's not like a big mastermind in this book, per se.
Yeah. They had to amp it up for the movie.
They Hollywooded it up.
Yep.
But honestly, it's good in the movie though too. I love both versions.
Judging by book 2, it seems like he didn't really know like what's her name? Sherry, the girl, like the little girl yet? Like
yep,
in life?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. You just kind of randomly saw her in the street.
Yep. It's still technically Fun Boy's girlfriend's daughter, which is just like the movie. But yeah, I think when they made the movie, they changed her name to Sarah, just because I would probably be confused between Sherry and Shelley as well. I don't know why they decided to put 2 shush names in there in the comic, but
come on, James O'Barr, come up with some other names. Tom,
all be S's.
Shelley.
Could have been Shelley and Gerda.
Yeah.
Oh my, Gerda's acting up again.
So basically the 4 issues is just him seeking revenge against the gang. And did they all get killed by shots to the head?
No.
Okay. So he gets a little creative with it?
He does.
I know in the movies there was definitely some knives and gasoline explosions.
Yep. Tintin goes down with knives. T-Bird goes down in a car explosion.
I like the Gideon, the pawn shop owner guy that he meets in issue 2. Like he was dead. He looked exactly like the guy they got for the movie. I was like, wow, that was good casting.
Yeah, that honestly, 100%. It's so bizarre how it's like they pulled him right out of this book.
He drew him into real life. So I don't remember him saying shit on me as much in the comic.
Shit on me. Shit on me. God, I love Gideon. He's the best.
What is he? He's not a bad guy though, this Gideon, or?
He's a pawn dealer. So basically all these criminals will just, steal and rob all these people and then go to the pawn store and just, make a quick buck.
The engagement ring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So
you're catching on.
Yeah.
Now you're a little curious. I can hear it in your voice. I hear the tremble. I can hear your white heat.
I was intrigued by the cats.
Yeah.
Cats? Maybe.
Gabriel's I think, is still around.
I know a way to sell you on this, Mike Dell. In issue 2, there's a whole page where it's just a splash page and then the lyrics to The Hanging Garden by The Cure.
I'm out.
Doesn't get you to read this. I don't know what will.
There are boobs later. Do you like boobs?
I do.
Well, now you can just skim to those parts at the very least.
Cats and boobs. So I like the premise. I like the idea. The backstory is tragic, and I like that he had this as a creative outlet and everything. But it's just a little too emo for me. It's just not my thing. I don't know.
Yeah. What if this made emo? Like, I think, which is what I'm pretty sure probably ended up happening. I think this made at least the emo scene in the early 2000s. I don't know why this.
Well, then I really hate it.
That's what happened. But it was the originator unknowingly. Okay.
Yeah. Not
I don't know where I'm going with that.
But I mean, it's good. The writing just seems like it's overwritten, but it's someone, he's doing his first comic book. What the hell? It's
he busts into the poetry a little bit too often. Maybe not as much poetry, but yeah, overall the story is very good and compelling, and I like where it's heading. Just a good revenge story. It's always kind of classic.
Yeah, and it's got cats and future boobs.
Sure.
So what more do you need?
Future boobs.
Well, Pete, obviously this is a 10 out of 10 for you, right?
Yeah, I love this. I love the book and I love the movie. But yeah, the book's fantastic. I love it.
Kev, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably give it a solid 9. Really liked it, especially the artwork in those dream sequences. Really cool. A lot of the times dream sequences can go terribly, but this one, they made it worthwhile. House of the Dragon Season 2, you didn't need any of those dream sequences they spent a whole season on.
Wait until you get to the later book, because I don't know if it was on purpose or maybe he just got his art style just gets better and better. But he does a lot of cross hatching, and it just becomes more almost distorted as you're reading it, as if he's starting to that it's coming to an end. So everything's distorting like crazy, and you're still getting those dream scenes, but when it comes back to the timeline, it's not as crystal clear as the first book is. It starts to get really, really almost grungy. It's amazing. The artwork is just really, really good throughout the entire book.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Some of it here was the dream sequences were nicer than the actual story art. I think.
The main story I thought was, it was okay. It's not.
It's indie comic guy doing his first book level art. Yeah. But so I don't know. I'll give it at least a 6 because I admire it and I think what it accomplishes what it's going after. It's just it's just not my thing. Not my thing.
Now the one thing I was wondering is is there going to be any kind of tension later in the book? Because obviously in the movie they made up that whole thing about the crow. If you take out the crow, you take out the man. But in here, he's just kind of, invincible. So is there really any danger of him not killing everyone?
Well, again, I don't know if you want me to spoil stuff for you.
Well, you don't have to tell me all the details, but I guess, is there jeopardy?
I'll just say one word, and that word will be no.
All right, so
you're just along for the ride. Is basically all it is.
You're just on the train track, and you're
on death's train. Just riding that choo-choo all the way to the end.
All right. Oh, that's something. All right, there it is, The Crow, issue 1. Hey, next week, right here on this very show, Kev, we're going to do a book that features a villain you and I were just talking about recently.
Oh, I bet I know who it is. But he's green and purple.
That's right.
Should be.
We're going to go Fantastic Four, issue 256 from 1983, and the villain is a nihilist.
Yeah, recently added to the Marvel Puzzle Quest. That's why it kind of came up in our conversation recently.
Kev's a big fan of the Marvel. Kev's a big fan of the Marvel Puzzle Quest.
Still playing it. Probably been like 10 years.
We've been playing it for years.
So,
yeah.
All right, there we go. Next week, Fantastic Four. I think this is John Byrne. I believe this is his era of Fantastic Four.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we'll get in. We'll learn all about Annihilus next week here on the Big Show. Well, Cousin Pete, thank you, buddy. We appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. This has been a delight. I love this book, so I hope you guys revisit it in a year, maybe book 2.
Yeah.
In a year. It has to be a year when you're resurrected from a crow.
Yes. When a chimp resurrects me. Well,
there it is.
All right, and again, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And until next week, don't get any jank on you.